I don't think having a premium car or a premium bike is like the way I thought about it as a kid, right? That life would be incomplete without it. I'm not on that page anymore. And in this, maybe it's like the monk who sold his Ferrari, that you have to have a Ferrari first, then become a monk to say that, yeah, you don't really need it. But I think we are in a kind of special environment as well in India, where to use these kind of things is that much more difficult.
Yeah.
To really use the potential of these machines, to exploit the joy you could get out of it is more difficult. Which is why in our environment, you are actually not missing out so much on what joys you can get in terms of your movement, which feels so innate. Is something that only comes from inside.
Yeah, and sometimes I think, Kartik, that we are also getting desensitized to the idea of that joy of ownership. Not the joy of using it and extracting the performance, but the joy of ownership. Remember, we are cycling through, 1,000 vehicles a year?
But Shumi, in that, I have one counter to that, and I have thought about it. Because I feel like, as I grow up, right? And I was telling you, the Mercedes, the 3-point star was the most recognized logo, second, I think, only to the Ferrari logo, right? But today, if you tell somebody that your aspiration is to have a Mercedes and that you have a Mercedes, most people will be like, yeah, okay, so what's next?
Yeah, but that is a function of it being unattainable then and what is unattainable now, right?
I think it's scarcity, right? When it's not that
it's the same word. Unattainable and scarcity is effectively the same thing. We didn't have money, so the idea of what could be luxurious was a Mercedes Benz, which also was very difficult to buy, connected. Today, that kind of scale has reached the point where you say, no, a Bugatti Chiron is what I would like to get. And to me, that is unattainable. Not just because it is not available, because the money required to get a Chiron is impossible. Therefore, Mercedes Benz seems like, yeah, it's a luxury premium car. It's okay. So many people have one. I can also have one.
And in that, what I find is what you're effectively saying, you as in anybody who goes through those set of emotions, is that I need an object to help me stand out.
Yeah.
Correct?
Of course.
And that is the emotion I think we should take and put aside.
You can't, no. Not yet.
Why?
We can. Look, remember, we've driven everything and we've ridden everything. We've experienced the 200 bhp bike in full flow at a racetrack multiple times and the 100 kilometers per liter motorcycle in the real world. We've done the Alto K10 and we've done the AMG. We've done the span and we see what these vehicles do. Some of us have been lucky enough to own some of these things at various parts of the spectrum. So our perspective is very informed and therefore we are more European in the way that what I drive is not connected to who I am.
Correct.
But this is not that country yet. We will be. We will be. It will be 10 years more when everybody has enough money for that the status thing is not constantly a thing.
So my recommendation to anybody, now imagine if you had to buy any one of those cars, right? And high end, which you'll be, and truly, like, I get that. The joy of using rather than the joy of owning. The emotions that you feel from being a part of the machine and feeling what it does, right? Helping it along and it helping you along. That's special. No two ways.
Yeah.
Instead of spending 3 crores, 4 crores on something like that, I would much rather buy a membership of some club in the US or UK or wherever and go and use, because even in India, if I were to get something like that, like you did with the R6, I don't want an R6 for the road. I don't want a 959, today we are talking on the Panigale.
Yeah.
I don't want a Panigale V4 for the road.
Correct.
As mad as it will look and feel.
Agreed.
But I don't want that for the road.
Agreed. Look, I think we're saying the same thing. We are at different points of time in the same spectrum. I think at the early part of the spectrum, what you own is important. And as you get used to the idea that I have something really, truly special, you also become aware that I would like to do things with it which I'm scared to do because this vehicle is just not right. Like I keep saying I want a GT2 RS. I am very realistic about a GT2 RS 4 crores is a statement I will make over and over and over again. But until our roads get...
It will happen.
That's not the issue. But until the road gets massively better, I will not spend that money on the GT2 RS.
Exactly.
Because I'm saying I am at the stage where owning the GT2 RS is not important to me. The joy I want from that car is important to me. So the GT2 RS is a symbol of activity, not ownership. But remember, we are on a time scale that is much more accelerated than the average person. Right? We are also skilled enough to say, I rode that bike 2 years later, I was done. I extracted all the performance and joy I wanted from it and I have to move on. The average rider is not doing it on that time scale. He is doing it on the ownership scale. He's saying, can you max out your Dominar yet? No, I can't. So why are you moving on? It's 4 years old. I want something fresh in my life. And you're moving for the freshness, not because the Dominar is now boring, exhausting, or whatever. We would reject the Dominar in 2 weeks, saying it doesn't do these many things and it does them so badly that I cannot own this motorcycle at all. Right? So I'm saying the time scale is the same. We are saying a large part of the country is where you're at, where you're saying, listen, don't worry about the ownership, do stuff. And they're saying, no, but we want to own the special stuff. I want that aspiration in my life. And we are on the other side where I say, I see what the aspiration's value is. And I see what the bigger value is, which you don't see yet, which is I want to do stuff. And if you think about it, the stories that we hear about the enthusiasts who are well off, we are not really interested in hearing what they've bought now. But when they say, I went to this racetrack and I drove that car, then suddenly our ears are up and we are listening in. I think they are reaching that stage where they're liking doing stuff with their money rather than owning stuff with the money. We have mentally reached that state. We are not rich enough, but we understand that just owning a Mercedes Benz, for example, doesn't automatically change anything unless it does something specific that adds value to you. I think they will get there.
Shumi is always like that. He's always kidding around and also dead serious. There's a lot more of that style of conversation on the main MotorInc channel, so head out and catch the full conversation.